So let's talk a little bit about yoga therapy, because you had described it in just the way you're talking, like it's very individualized. And that's what I get from, I teach yoga classes to a group, you teach yoga classes to a group, but yoga therapy is more specific to that individual person. Can you talk a little bit about like what it is and what different, why people might come to yoga therapy? What are they working towards?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the term yoga therapy is new, but the practice and the concept is as old as yoga. And traditionally in India, there weren't group yoga classes. There weren't yoga studios. You had a guru that you worked with, usually privately. And this guru would know about you and your life and your background and your traumas and your injuries and your goals. And we would call that, in today's world, yoga therapy. You're working privately with someone, and they're really meeting you where you are. And they're also using yoga tools to address different things happening in your life. And yoga therapy, every session is so different. So sometimes I meet with people who they have an injury, a physical injury, and we might meet like once or twice and a couple alignment cues of like, hey, like don't fold like this, fold using your quads and your, core muscles a little bit more, and we can remedy some of those physical injuries. Other times we never even start moving. It might be, it's not talk therapy, but we're talking the whole time about different things happening in the mind, the heart, the breath, the spirit. And what's so beautiful about yoga therapy is I have time with people. I hear so often, especially in the Western medical system, clients are getting 3-7 minutes, maybe like with a doctor, like people are just, so rushed in their appointments. And how can anyone really know you if they're only spending a few minutes with you? So with yoga therapy, I have like an hour plus with people, and I see them consistently if they, want to. And it's really beautiful to get to know the whole person. And we're never just looking at one aspect. They say in yoga that there's 5 layers of being, the koshas. And if you feel something in your physical layer, that's your outermost layer, they say that means every other layer beneath that has already been affected. So your mind, your spirit, your breath, your energy, your bliss body, they've already been affected if you have a physical issue happening. So with yoga therapy, we're coming with that assumption. So I could never just treat your knee. I'm going to talk about like, how does that make you feel that you can't run anymore? All your friends were in running club. How does that make you feel that you can't have that community? How else is this showing up besides just in your knee? Your mind, are you breathing differently? Are you sleeping differently? So we get to talk about all those things in yoga therapy.
This is so necessary. And I don't know if you experience, I'm sure you do, since you're a yoga therapist, but like I, as a yoga teacher, feel like people will come to me with their deepest, darkest secrets. Like it's one of those, like yoga therapy is definitely, or rather yoga teachers hold that position of like, I'm open and warm and I want to help you. And sometimes I'm like, I'm so happy you shared that with me. I don't think I can help you in this yoga class. And like what you're saying really can, right? Like we can get to a little bit deeper into this. And as it's showing up in the physical form, like address that. So you're saying it's not just asana that you're doing in these sessions. Would you do like breath work, or like what are some of the other tools in a session?
Yep. So just like in yoga teacher trainings with all the different varieties that are out there, some specialize in anatomy, some specialize in pranayama. Same with yoga therapy. You're going to find certain yoga therapists that are really, really heavy on learning the actual like medical conditions and learning about functional medicine. You're going to find other yoga therapy schools that are going to be more philosophy driven, more mantra or mudra driven. So I have this unique blend of functional yoga therapy. So very, very good understanding of functional anatomy and how to move the body in alignment. And then Ayurveda, which is considered the sister science of yoga, which looks at your diet, your sleep, the herbs that you're intaking, the type of breathing that you need for your certain condition or time of life, looks at the seasons. Are you eating seasonally? It looks at the stage of life that you're in. So it's this very personalized approach to healing and wellness paired with like postural functional alignment, which is my other specialty. So in my yoga therapy sessions, like we can pretty much cover everything. We're looking at, from, your practices from what you wake up in the morning and do, your daily routines, all the way to, what do you do before you sleep? And I can bring in breath work and some postures for sure, mudras, different, things you can do with your hands that direct energy, a lot of like affirmations as well, some inner child work. Like there's just so many different tools to pull from with my particular training.
Mm-hmm. So there's would you say there's an intuitive element to it, to what to offer up to somebody? Like you kind of tap into yourself?
Absolutely. And you have to be very clever about who you're working with and the approach that you're taking with them, because one approach with one person might be the medicine, and that same approach with somebody else would not work at all. So there's kind of a funny little phrase in Ayurveda that says, with kapha people. So kapha people are more earth and water element people. They're a little bit stuck in the mud sometimes, but they're pretty grounded. And with those kinds of people, you're supposed to behave like a coach. So you're like, let's go, let's get up, let's move, right? Rest. And then with pitta people who are fiery, ambitious, driven, prone to burnout, they have podcasts, right? They get shit done, right?
Yep.
If you were that coach with them, that wouldn't work. So you have to treat them like a peer. There has to be buy-in. There has to be collaboration. They have to believe your credentials are worthy of their time, right? And then with Vata people are creatives. They're air and space. They're flowy. They're fun, but they can also be forgetful, anxious, can't, keep a calendar. They can kind of struggle with routine. So with Vata people, you can really be like a taskmaster. You can really be a little bit more demanding and controlling with them in a very good way, of course. Give them more structure, where if you did that with a pitta fiery person, they would totally blow you off,
That's cool. I know the doshas, but I hadn't heard it in that practice kind of way. That's really helpful. And I want to talk more about Ayurveda. Before we do, outside of injury, outside of, physical injury, what are people coming to you with? What are they working on?
Great question. And it's always so exciting to see, new client forms come through, because there's just no repeats. Everybody is so unique. I've had people who are grieving a lost one, a loved one, and trying to figure out how to put one foot in front of the other each day. And how do I breathe? I've stopped breathing. I'm holding my breath. I've had people with body image issues. I have eating disorder clients who are trying to be more in their body, trying to connect. I have people who just genuinely want to know more about themselves through the Ayurveda lens. They want to know more about yoga. I have one client who's been practicing yoga his whole life, but he was like, I want to go to that next level. I want to go deeper. So it can be anything, truly. I have people, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression.
Okay.
Yeah, I get a lot of people who are like, I've tried everything. I'm kind of at the end of the line here. I've tried everything, and I'm open to something I don't even know about. I've had that before too. People are like, I got signed up for this by my spouse or my friend or whatever. I don't know what yoga is. I don't know what yoga therapy is. I don't know what Ayurveda is. And they're always fun to talk to, and because at this point, we just live in a world that's in a lot of pain, and
it's true.
I always find that even though I have all these yoga therapy tools to pull from, I think the most powerful medicine, at least in my toolbox, wasn't even something that was taught to me. It's sitting undistracted, listening to somebody, holding space for them, asking questions. You don't have to fix, you don't have to cure, you don't have to heal. Just that powerful sitting with somebody, just that in and of itself, I see pretty dramatic effects happen for people.